This conference will now be recorded.
The next feature, DML statements. So what exactly the DML statements and what is the use? What DML statements available in Apex programming? And how many ways are there to use the DML statements? And what are the various ways? We'll see. And what are the differences between both those ways? And what are the various governor limits has been introduced by Salesforce as part of this DML statements? We'll see practically. Okay. So now tell me, so what exactly the DML stands for? DML stands for what? Data manipulation language. Now, then what do you mean by this data manipulation language? What we can do? Say confidently, whatever it may be, right or wrong, no problem. We can insert, update, delete the records, upsert, undelete the records, merge the records also. Okay. So that means once an object is ready, that means once the table is ready, on that table we can able to perform so many operations. Initially, whenever I'm creating an object, the table will be created by Salesforce. The table will be empty. We don't have any records inside the table. The table is empty table. From there onwards, keep on, we can create some records. And once the records has been getting stored, in future, if it requires, we can able to modify the records also. And if there is any some unnecessary records are there, or unreferenced records or unused records are available, since very long time, those records we can able to remove from that object. And upon removing those records, if we did any mistake, that along with that unused records, I have removed one important record also. At that time, how can we restore those deleted records back to the actual object which are needed? And how can we merge the multiple duplicate records into a single record? All these operations we can perform with the help of this DML statements. Now tell me, haven't inserted any records as of now? We haven't created any records? Yes. We haven't modified the records? Yes. We haven't deleted the records? Yes, we did all these things. Then what is the use of these DML statements again? We have tab. Through the tab, we are having the user interface. With the help of that user interface, we are able to create the records, modify the records, delete the records, undelete the records. We can perform all these operations. Then what is the use of these DML statements? We can perform only one record, right? So whenever if I'm going with this user interface will allows me to perform the DML operations on only one record at a time. We can create only one record at a time. We can modify only one record at a time. We can delete only one record at a time. But sometimes I'm having some thousands of records are there which needs to be get updated. I'm having some millions of records are there which needs to be get removed. I have some lakhs of records are available which needs to be get restored. I want to insert some thousands of records into my object. At that time, if I'm performing the operations on these records one by one by using user interface, it will take more time. It will be impacting on the application performance, and that too, I need to make more number of requests to my Salesforce server. In this case, it is increasing my network traffic. It is putting some more load on my application server. So it is going to making the other customers will be getting affected. For that one, instead of performing the operations on each and every record separately, I want to group all the records and I want to perform those operations and the collection of records in one shot. For that one, I would like to go with that DML statements. By using this DML statements, we can perform the operations on the data. Data means what? Records. Okay, data means records. We can perform the operations on one or more number of records in one shot with the help of DML statements. Like we can insert multiple records, we can update multiple records, we can remove multiple records, we can merge multiple records into a single record, so that we can eliminate the duplicate records, we can maintain the accuracy and the quality of data inside your object. So at that time, whenever if you want to perform the DML operations on more number of records, then we can go with the DML statements. Okay, by using the DML statements, we can perform the operations on one or more number of records at a time with the help of these DML statements. Okay, now then what DML statements are available in Apex programming? You know, insert, update, delete, undelete, merge, upsert. Okay, 6 DML statements are available. Okay, 6 DML statements are available as part of that DML statement. Generally, when you go to normal databases, it may be Oracle, SQL Server, Teradata, DBase, DB2, whatever, anything. When you go to the normal databases, DML statements in the sense only 4: insert, update, delete, select. Okay, these are the 4. But as part of Salesforce, select statement will not come under the DML statement, that will be comes under SO query part, so that has been segregated. But now we are having some more additional DML statements are also available. Not only insert, update, and the delete, we can undelete those records also back to the actual object. We can perform the upsert operation. We can merge the multiple duplicate records into a single record also. So that facilities are available, so that as part of Apex programming, we are having that 6 DML statements are available. Okay. Now, in this case here, whenever you are performing the DML operations on your records, as part of Apex programming, we have 2 ways. Okay, we have 2 ways are available. Upon performing the DML operations on your records, we are having 2 ways are available. First one is with the help of DML statements. Okay, with the help of DML statements like insert, update, delete, undelete, upsert, merge. By using these 6 DML statements, we can perform the DML operations on multiple records. But in these DML statements, there are some drawbacks. Okay, there are some drawbacks are available. There are some side effects. To overcome those drawbacks, we are using the help of database class. Okay, database class. You know the database class. Already we have used as part of our dynamic SQL query. We have used database dot the query method. Okay. Along with that, we have used database dot count query method here. We have used that. Like the similar way, as part of the database class, we have some more methods are available, like database dot insert, database dot update, database dot delete, database dot undelete, database dot upsert, database dot like as merge. These are the 6 methods are available. Okay, as part of database class, we are having the ready-made methods to perform the DML operation. We can do the DML operation by using DML statements also, or database class methods also. We can use simply insert statement or database dot insert method also. It's a common question in the entry point of view. Difference between insert statement and the database dot insert method. Okay, what exactly the difference between these two? Okay, we'll see practically those concepts also as part of this DML statements. Because inside my normal DML statements, we are having some drawbacks are available. To overcome those drawbacks, we are using the help of database class methods. Database class methods will overcome all the drawbacks which we have inside the DML statements. Then what are those drawbacks? And then how can we avoid those drawbacks? We'll see practically as part of this DML statements concept here. Okay. Now, let's make a note of this one. DML statements. By using DML statements, we can perform all the operations on the object records. All the operations on the object records. That is, we can insert, update, delete, undelete, upsert, merge operations on one or more records at a time. 1 or more records at a time. With the help of these DML statements, we can perform the DML operations on 1 or more number of records at a time. That possibility is there. Why we are using this DML statements is, if I'm using the page layout will allows me to perform the operations on only one record at a time. Record by record, record by record, record by record, we need to perform. But at that time, if I'm performing the operations on more number of records, it will take more time, so that we are using the help of DML statements. Okay. So now in this case, upon performing the DML operations on your records through Apex programming, okay, through Apex programming, if you are performing the DML operations, we have two ways are available. First one is by using DML statements. Second one is by using database class methods. Okay, now make a note here. We can perform the DML operations on the records. We can perform the DML operations on the records with the below two ways. First one, by using DML statements. First one, by using these DML statements. Now, let's see. Apex provides the below DML statements to be used to perform the operations on the multiple records at a time. Apex provides the below DML statements. How many DML statements that we have? 6 DML statements, right? Now, we are having that insert statement, update, delete, undelete, upsert. Upsert is nothing but what? Combination of update plus insert. And then merge. This is the first way. By using DML statements also, we can perform the operations on your multiple records. Second one, by using database class methods. Second one, by using database class method. Apex provides a standard class called as database, which is used to connect to the Salesforce objects to perform the operations. To perform the operations on 1 or more records. 1 or more records at a time. To connect to the Salesforce objects to perform the operations on 1 or more records at a time. Database class provides the below ready-made methods. That means these are all static methods. Below static methods to perform the DML operations. To perform the DML operations. Like the first one is database.insert method. Database.delete method. Database.update method. Database.undelete method. Database.upsert method. Database.merge method. Database. empty recycle bin method. Okay, empty recycle bin method. These are the various methods are available which we can able to use to perform the DML operations on your object records through database class. And from this DML statements, already you know the concept of insert. Insert statement already you are aware of that. You know how to insert the records into the object through programmatically. It may be a single record. It may be the multiple records also. By using bulkification process, we have inserted the multiple records into our standard objects as well as custom objects also. Okay, we'll see the insert statement first. What will be the syntaxes that we have? We'll see how to perform the insert operation, and then we'll see what are the drawbacks are available, how to overcome those drawbacks with the help of database class methods. Okay. Done with these points? Now, first we'll see how to use these DML statements, and then what kind of problems will be getting arised, how to solve those problems by using database class. We'll see. Now, first one, insert statement. Now tell me what is the use of this insert statement? To insert bulk records into your objects. It may be one, it may be bulk records also. Okay. Now tell me, do we have any limitation like insert statement will allow us to insert the records only in these objects? No. Any object we can interact. It may be standard object, it may be custom object. Any object we can interact by using that insert statement. Okay. Now make your note over here. By using this statement, we can insert either one or more records into both standard or custom objects inside the organization. By using this statement, we can insert either one or more records into both standard or custom objects inside the organization. Now, so what is the syntax here? Okay, now let's see. Now, upon inserting the records, you may insert one record, you can insert multiple records also. Inserting only one record. If you're inserting only one record, then what is the syntax? Insert that particular object name where exactly the record has been stored, like as insert ACC, insert HR, like that. We can specify that object name here where exactly the record details has been specified. If you're inserting multiple records, then Hmm. Whenever you are performing the operations on multiple records, then what we can do? Okay. 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 Records, all the records we need to add to the collection, then we can perform DML operation on the collection. That process is called as what? Uh, Bulkification process. Okay, that's it, bulkification process. Okay, so now whenever I'm inserting the records on multiple records, then we have to go with that bulkification process. Okay, now at that time all those records were adding to the collection, and then we can perform the DML operation on that collection directly. So that we are using that syntax: insert collection object name. Okay, specify the collection object name where exactly the records has been stored. If it is a single record, specify that object name. If it is a multiple records you are trying to insert, then we have to use collection object name, because we are following the bulkification process. So at that time, we are going to be inserting those records into my object by adding all the records to my collection. Clear? Done? Now, to insert a single record, we are using this syntax. To insert the multiple records, we are using this syntax. Okay. Now let's see how can we insert the multiple records. Okay, into my object. Okay. So let's take a small use case. So write an Apex program to insert 200 records into the contact object. To insert 200 records into the contact object. To insert 200 records into the contact object. You know how to perform the operations on your object records, you know that. Okay. Now let's see how can we implement this functionality. Now let's see practically in this case. So then how can we write that code? What is the process we need to follow now? Bulkification process we have to follow, because we are inserting multiple records. So at that time, if you are performing the operations on more than one record, then always go with that bulkification process. Okay. Now let's see how can we perform these operations onto my object records. Now let's see here. Before that, let me verify, do we have any triggers? Okay. Now, so I'm trying to be inserting the contact records into my object here. So let me write that piece of code. I'm creating a class to store all the DML operation related business logic. I would like to prepare a separate class. I'm creating a new Apex class, DML operations handler. I'm creating a class with the name DML operations handler. Inside this class, I'm preparing a method, public static void insert bulk contacts. Insert bulk contacts. I want to insert some bulk contact records inside my object here. So now let's see how can we implement. Here we have to go with the bulkification process. Same everywhere. Whenever you are implementing the business logic, go with the bulkification process. Okay. Now, because upon writing the code, we have to think in the future compatibility. But right now, we may be processing only one record. We may be handling only one record, but in future, if it is required, when the business gets changed, then we need to process multiple records also. At that time, my code should not get failed. My code should be able to handle either one record processing or multiple records processing also it should be able to handle. So that always we have to follow the bulkification process upon writing that code. So that don't perform the DML operations on each record separately, use the collections, add the color records to the collection, then perform the DML operations on the collection of records in one shot. Okay, now for this reason here, I'm going to preparing a collection class first. To store all the contact records, I'm preparing a collection. List of contact, LST contacts equals to new list of contact. I have prepared a collection which is of type list, which will be able to handle a collection of elements of type contact. Now I'm preparing the contact records right now. For integer counter equals to 1, counter less than or equals to some 200, counter plus plus. I would like to prepare 200 contact records. So now here I'm preparing that contact record. I'm preparing the contact record by creating the contact class object. Contact some C1 equals to new contact. I'm passing the values for this contact object fields. Contact dot first name. I'm indicating DML. Contact dot last name. Contact hyphen. I'm adding the counter value. DML contact 1, DML contact 2, DML contact 3, like that up to 200 contact records I'm preparing. Contact dot title. He is a developer. Contact dot department. He is a development department. Contact dot lead source, like as web. Contact dot phone. I'm passing the value. Contact dot fax. I'm passing the value. Contact dot email. DML contact plus counter at the rate some gmail.com. And the contact dot website. We don't have the website field, just I'm leaving it as blank. Now the contact record is ready. So now I'm creating the contact records into my contact object, where I'm supplying the first name field value, last name value, title, department, lead source, phone, and then fax and the email ID values. Okay, all these values I'm supplying here. Once the contact record is ready, then I'm going to be adding this contact record to my collection. I'm adding the record to that collection. LST contacts dot add of contact record. Once the record has been getting added, that means by end of this for loop, it is going to be preparing 200 contact records, and all those records will be placing inside my contacts collection. Okay. Now outside the for loop, we need to perform the DML operations. If LST contacts is not empty. That means if the collection is not empty, then what we need to do, I would like to insert LST contacts. I'm inserting all these contact records into my object. Done? Done with this code? Now. So now let me explain, let me execute this code. Let's see the results. So now by using this method, I am going to be inserting 200 contact records into my contact object. Before inserting the record, let me verify how many contacts are there already inside my contact object. Go with all the contacts. Now, as of now, we are having totally 42 contact records are available inside my contact object. Now I'm creating 200 records more. Okay. Now, so let me execute this piece of code. DML operations handler dot now create or insert bulk contacts. Okay. So we have prepared a method with the name insert bulk contacts, which will be inserting the collection of records into my contact object up to 200. Click on execute. It has sent the request to that Salesforce server. It is processing the request. It is inserting all the 200 contact records into my contact object. So now let's refresh this user interface. Now we have how many records now? 242 records I'm having inside this. Okay. So whatever the 200 records that we have specified, all those 200 records has been inserted into my object in one shot. Like as now the last name is starting with some contact, it is having all the records are available. So like as DML, okay, the DML contact 1, DML contact 2, like that, all the 200 contact records has been inserted into my object. So we are having totally 242 records are also available here. Okay. Now, so now in this case, okay, let me do some small changes inside this. Let's observe what will happen in this case. Again, I'm inserting 200 more records. I'm inserting from 4012 to 600. Now tell me how many records I'm inserting now. 200 records. 4012 to 600. That means 200 records I'm inserting now. Upon creating the contact record, do we have any mandatory fields? Last name, right? Last name is a mandatory field. For example, here I'm indicating this. If if the counter value not equals to 591, what it means? What is the meaning of this condition? If the counter value not equals to 591 and inside that I'm assigning that the last name field. Hmm. 10 in the sense. Hmm. I haven't indicated anywhere. Okay, don't insert this record like that. Just I have added that condition. If counter value not equals to 591, then I'm specifying that contact that last name equals to some value. Hmm. For example, first of all, it is trying to be creating what record 401. Okay, 401 record will be getting created here. Now, in this case, it is trying to be preparing that 401 record. Counter value 401. It will come to this place. It will add that first name. Check the condition. Counter value is what? 401. So now tell me in this case here, now this value 401. Counter value is 401. 401 not equals to 591. Condition is true or false? True. Because here both are not equal, so the condition is true. If the condition is true, what will happen? It will enter into the block. It will assign last name field. Next, counter value 402. Condition will be true or false? True. It will enter into the block. It will be adding the last name. For example, the value is 590. Condition is true or false? True. So it will enter into the block, add that last name field. Now the value is 591. False. So that it will enter into the block here? No. That means what? I'm not assigning the last name value for the record 591. Okay. Except the 591 record, for the remaining 199 records, assign that last name field. That means what I am doing here, I know that without specifying that last name field value, I can't insert the record. But even though forcefully, by knowingly, I'm indicating that don't assign that last name value, okay, for the record 591. That means what? For one record, okay, in the 200 records, for 591th record, okay, for 591th record, 401 to 600, totally 200 records are there. From those 200 records, for one record, I'm not passing that last name value here. Okay, I'm not passing that last name value. Then what will happen in this case? What is that error? Okay, then. Okay, that means what? The whole transaction will be getting rolled back. Okay, now let's see. Now let me execute this code. Just I'm indicating that for the record 591, don't supply that contact name field value. Nothing but last name field value. Don't supply that. Okay, now. So let me execute that same piece of code. Already how many records are there inside my contact object? 242. Okay, now click on execute. What happened in this case? Duplicates detected. Okay, some duplicate records has been identified over here. Now because of that email ID field, because of that phone numbers. So let me change these values. Now, so let me execute this. What happened here? Required field is missing. So what is the required? What is this error message here? Last name field is missing. Now it is indicating that system.dml exception. Insertion failed. Okay, insertion failed. Now the first exception on row 190. 190 means what? What is this 190? Hmm. I have specified 591 the record, right? Hmm. Why it is showing 190? 200, okay, right? Hmm. Then 591 means 191 the record, but it's showing 191. Hmm. Somebody is telling that. Index, because these records are storing where inside my listed collection. Listed collection will be identifying every element by using index position starting from 0. So now we are having that 591. That means 191 the record. 191 the record will be available at what index? 190 index here. Okay, now 190th record has been failed. Why? Required field is missing. What is that required field? Last name. Okay, one record has been failed. Okay, one record has been failed because of this record operation here. Now what about the previous 189 records and the remaining records? Totally 200 records I'm trying to be inserting, but one record has been failed. What about the remaining 199 records? Will it be inserted or will it be failed? Failed. Because here whenever I'm going to be using that, let's see the records, refresh this user interface, you are having still 242 records only here. That means what? Whenever I'm using this normal DML statements, okay, upon using that normal DML statements are internally using transactions. Okay, DML statements are internally using transactions, so that DML statements are purely atomic. Okay, DML statements are purely atomic. Atomic means what? You know, as part of your education in the childhood. Hmm. In the chemistry, you are aware of that atomic or atoms. Hmm. Then smallest part, okay. Atomic in the sense what? Only one. Okay, only one. That means when coming to the DML statements, either it has to complete the operation, it has to cancel the operation. Only one, not partial. Okay, not partial. So when coming to the DML statements are purely atomic. Atomic means what? These are internally using the transactions. Okay, internally using transaction. Now tell me, what do you mean by a transaction generally? What exactly transaction? Simply transferring. Okay. Transaction in the sense, generally. Hmm? Okay. Only record creation is one transaction. Can't we include multiple? Multiple operations can't we include? Hmm. Then. Okay, that is one operation simply. For example, I have a method. In that method, I have written some 100 lines of code. There I have written so many statements, insertions, updations, deletions, all these things. Once this entire process has been getting completed, it is called as a transaction. Okay, now let me explain what exactly the transaction basically, and then we'll see what are the various results of that transaction. Okay, now for example, come to a scenario. For example, I have two people. Okay, I have two people. So I have two people are there who are friends. Okay, I have two people. Okay, two people. Two persons are there. This person name is some Ram Kumar. His name is some Suresh. Okay, his name is some Suresh. So now both the people are friends. Okay, both the people are friends. Okay, now. So now in this case, every day both the people are having some conversations over the phone. Sometimes they're meeting also. Okay, they're having some conversations. Now both the people are having some ICICI bank accounts. He is also having an ICICI bank account. He is also having an ICICI bank account. Inside this Ram Kumar's account, he is having some 10,000 rupees as a balance. He is having 10,000 rupees. He is having some 2,500. Okay. Both are having some ICICI bank accounts and then they're having some balance in their account. Now today, Suresh is in need of some money. Okay. Suresh is in need of some money of 5,000 rupees. So he made a call to that his friend Ram Kumar. So today I'm in need of some money. So please give me some 5,000 rupees. So Ram Kumar is ready to transfer the money. Now Ram Kumar is going to be transferring the money from his account to the Suresh account. Okay, he's transferring the money. Now he's transferring that amount over here. Okay, he's transferring that amount. He's transferring that amount from his account to that Suresh account here. How much amount he is transferring? 5,000 rupees. 5,000 rupees. Now tell me what kind of operations involved. Okay. Updation. Okay. 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 Any other thing? Any other operations? Only simply deduction and editing, adding into that target, or any other operations? Okay. Both the sides it will get updated. Okay, fine. Right. Now, in this case, first of all, as soon as when the people are initiating the transaction to transfer the money from one account to another account, it will be having some lot of process. Okay, it will be involving so much lot of process. So now in this case, first of all, it will verify whenever you are going to be transferring the money. As soon as once you click on the transfer button, first of all, it will verify. It will verify the source account. Verify the source account. Whether the source account is in active status or not. Okay, if the source account is in active status or not. Verify the source account status. Whether it is active or not. Okay, now after that, suppose if the source account is active. Okay, if the source account is active. Now, in this case here, the second step, it will verify the target account. Verify the destination account number. Whatever the account number that you have entered to transfer the money, whether that account number is valid or not. Okay, it will verify, because upon typing that account number, I may do some mistakes also. One digit is missing, or one additional digit I have entered over here, or some wrong number, wrong account number I might have entered. So that it is verifying that whatever the account number the user has entered, whether it is a ICICI bank account number or not, it will validate that one. It will verify the destination account number also here. Next, the third one. Once the source account is valid, which is inactive, destination account is also valid, then it will try to initiate that amount here. Before initiating that amount, how much amount you are going to transfer? 5,000. So in this case, first of all, it will verify the balance inside that source account here. It will verify the sufficient funds. Sufficient funds where in source account. It will verify whether that Ram Kumar's account, source account, is having 5,000 rupees of balance or not. If the balance is available, then as a fourth step, it will be deducting the amount here. Deduct the amount from source account. Okay, it will be debiting that amount from that source account. Once amount has been getting debited, then what it will do? It will credit that amount here into that target account or the destination account. Okay, now, so these are some 5 operations will be getting involved whenever I'm going to be performing the transferring the money from one account to another account. Of course, when you go to the bank, it may be having multiple other steps also may be available. Okay, as in general, we may be having that 5 steps over here. First of all, we need to verify whether that source account is active or not. If the source account is active, then we can initiate the transaction. We can transfer the money. At that time, whatever the account number that you have entered right now, to transfer the money, whether that account number is a active, valid account number or not. If it is valid, then it will verify for the sufficient funds. If the funds are available, then only it will go for that, deducting the amount, then amount will be transferring into that destination account automatically here. Okay, clear? Now, so now here in this case, come to the scenario. If all these operations has been done, okay, if all this operation has been done, then only your transfer will be getting successful. Amount will be getting transferred successfully. Now, come to the scenario here. Okay, now for example, today I'm transferring the money. Okay, I'm transferring the money from Ram Kumar account to the Suresh Kumar account. It has validated that source account. Source account is valid, okay, which is in active status. Whatever the destination account number that I have entered, this is invalid. One digit is missing. What we can do? Can I go ahead? Can I cancel? Cancel. That means what here? If this operation has been getting failed, we are going to be canceling that. Okay, now operation will be cancelled. We can't go ahead. For example, come to the second case. Now I'm transferring the money. It is validating the source. Source account is valid. Destination account is also valid. When coming to the funds, we don't have the sufficient funds. I'm having only some 5,000 rupees, but he is transferring 7,000 rupees here. Then what will happen in this case? Without the sufficient funds, can you able to initiate the transfer? No. That means this operation has been failed. Then what we can do? Can I go ahead or can I cancel? Cancel. Whole operation will be getting cancelled. Next, third case. I'm initiating the transfer here. Now the source account is valid. Destination account is valid. I'm having the sufficient funds also. Amount has been deducted from my account over here. Whenever it is crediting into the destination account, suddenly system has been down. Okay, suddenly server has been down. Then what we can do in this case? Okay, power went off, so that system has been down, server has been down. Then what we can do? Will able to accept this kind of transactions, like as money has been deducted, the money is not credited into the target accounts? Will you accept this kind of transaction? Will you accept or not? For example, I went to the ATM center. I'm withdrawing some 10,000 rupees. Amount has been deducted. I did not get the money from the ATM. Will you directly go to the home? Then what we can do? We are going to be raising a complaint. We are going to that bank. We are raising a complaint. There is a problem in the ATM machine, and then because here, whenever I'm trying to be withdrawing the money, 10,000 rupees has been deducted, but he did not get the money from the ATM. Okay. So in this case, we are going to be raising the complaint. Those people will do the necessary investigations over here. Then they will return your amount back to you after 1 week, after 10 days, after 20 days, whatever. But that means our money will be coming back to our account. Okay, there is a chance here. In this case here, what happened? Upon crediting that amount, the suddenly server has been down, so that here it is unable to credit that. In this case, what happened? We are going to be canceling that whole transaction over here. That means what? When coming to the transaction, that means what? Whenever I'm performing all these operations successfully, my transaction is over. My operations are over. In this case, what happened? To transfer the money, so many operations are involved. This is one operation. This is the second operation, third operation, fourth operation, fifth operation. Like that, multiple operations may be there. So in this case, we can say transaction is nothing but, okay, transaction is nothing but a logical container. Like a logical container. Why I have used that word logical is because whatever the statements are there, all these operations are dependent. Now, if you want to perform the fifth one, first of all, we have to complete the fourth one. If the fourth one is successfully done, then only we can go to that, the fifth one. Now, to complete that fourth one, first of all, you have to complete the third one. To perform the third one, you have to complete that second operation successfully. To perform that second operation, we have to go to that first operation first. Okay, that means what? Each and every operation is dependent on its previous operations here. Okay, it's a previous operations, it is purely dependent. So that these are logically dependent over here. Okay, now in this case, whenever if the source account is valid, then only it will go to the next step. If the destination account is valid, then it will verify the sufficient funds. If the funds are available, then only it is going to that fourth one. If that amount has been deducted, then only it will be crediting. That means logically dependent over here. If this fourth operation has been failed, it will be cancelling that. That means what? Each and every operation is dependent on its previous operations. So that when coming to a transaction, transaction is nothing but a logical container. Container means what? A group. What it contains? A collection of operations. Okay, collection of operations. So that transaction is nothing but a logical container which contains one or more number of operations inside this. Okay, which contains one or more number of operations. If all these operations are done, then only my transaction is over. Okay, if all these operations are done, then only my transaction is over. My transaction will be completed here. Okay, clear? Now when coming to the transaction, transaction will be having two possible results. Transaction will be having two possible results. First one, either transaction should be commit or transaction should be rolled back. Okay, when coming to the transaction will be having any one of that possible results here. There are two possible results will be available for the transaction. What are those two possible results? Now let's see. Transaction can be either committed or it may be rolled back. Okay, roll back. Okay, transaction can be either commit or roll back. Transaction will be having these two possible results over here, either commit or roll back. Then what do you mean by commit? What do you mean by roll back? Committing in the sense saving permanently into the database. Okay, committing means saving permanently into the database. That is called as commit operation. Rollback means what? Cancel all the previous operations. Okay, whatever the operations we have done as of now, cancel all the previous operations. So that commit in the sense, okay, saving the result permanently into the database. Rollback in the sense, okay, cancel all the previous operations. Now here in this case here, commit in the sense save the results into the database. Rollback in the sense cancel all the previous operations. Whatever the operations you have done as of now, cancel all those previous operations. Now in this case, when coming to the transaction, when the transaction will be getting committed, when the transaction will be getting rolled back. Because transaction will be having any one of this result, when it will be committing the records, when it will be rolling back the transaction. Right? When coming to the transaction will be getting committed when if all the operations are completed successfully. If all the operations are completed successfully, then transaction will be getting committed. Then when the transaction will get rolled back, if any of the operation fails. Okay, if any of the operation fails, it is going to be rolling back that entire transaction here. Okay, now when coming to the transaction, it will commit if all the operations are success. If all the operations are success. If all the operations are successfully processed, it will be getting committed. It will be canceling the transaction when if any of the operation fails. Okay, if any of the operation fails, it will be rolling back the transaction over here. Transaction will be getting committed if all the operations are successfully processed. Transaction will be getting rolled back if any of the operation fails. Okay, these are the two possible results are available when coming to your transactions. Okay, now tell me here in this case, inside this transaction we are performing these operations. How to perform each operation? Can you give me some example here? How to perform this? Whether this account is active status or not, how can we verify? If condition records are there in the database, then I want to verify whether it is active or not. For example, I have a user. I know the username. Whether this user is in active status or not, how do we know? He is active or not. I need to verify. How can we verify that? For that one, what we can do? select statement. Make a query to the database to verify whether that record is in active status or not. Okay. Now, next, verify the destination account number. Whether this is a ICICI Bank account number or not, we need to verify that. Based on that query, select statement, select like as count from the database object like as account table where account number equals to so and so account number. Whether this account number is exist or not. If it is exist, it will be valid. So that we can go ahead that. Next, third one, sufficient funds. Whether we are having the sufficient funds are available or not. Select statement. Get the balance value. Please verify whether that balance value is more than that amount which you are going to transfer or not. Next. Fourth one. Deducting the amount over here. Update. Right. So whatever the balance is available, 10,000 minus 5,000. I want to update this value as 5,000. Next. After that, update statement. I'm going to be updating the balance. He is having the 2,500. I want to update this value as 7,500. That means what here we are having so many operations, not only one, multiple operations, different combinations. Not all are insert, not all are update, not all are delete, not all are select. So we can have that multiple operations, 3 select statements and then 2 DML statements. That means what some SOQL queries also I'm using that, some 2 DML statements also I'm using that. That's what here, keep on I'm giving the governor limit over here. Within the transaction, we can use maximum of 150 DML statements and then 100 SOQL queries. Okay. So in this case, when coming to the transaction is nothing but a logical container which contains one or more number of operations. Okay, which contains one or more number of operations. Transaction will be getting committed if all the operations are successfully processed. Transaction will be getting rolled back if any of the operation has been failed. Okay, if any of the operation has been failed, transaction will be getting rolled back over here. Okay, clear? Now, in this case, when coming to the transactions, now, when coming to the transaction, we have 2 types of transactions. Okay, we have 2 types of transactions as part of the database and then Salesforce also. First one is implicit transactions. Implicit transactions. Second one is explicit transactions. Okay, implicit transactions and explicit transactions. What do you mean by implicit transaction? What do you mean by explicit? Implicit in the sense what? Explicit in the sense what? Implicit means what? Automatic. Okay, automatically or ready-madely here by default. Explicit means what? By our own. We need to prepare. Okay, we need to maintain those transactions. Now, implicit transactions in the sense these are the ready-made transaction which will be utilizing by all the DML statements. Okay, all the DML statement. We can take any database also. It may be Oracle, SQL Server, whatever. Even though Salesforce database also, that is database.com. Whenever I'm performing the DML operation, for every DML operation internally it is maintaining a transaction. Under the control of the transaction only, your operations will be getting performed. Okay, under the control of the transaction only your operations will be getting performed. Okay, so now here in this case here, okay, now here in this case, now whenever I'm going to be utilizing the transactions, we have 2 types of transaction. Implicit means what? Automatic, ready-madely upon performing the DML operation. Previously we have used that insert statement inside my application. When I go to my insert statement here, now this insert statement directly, it won't execute that. First of all, it is maintaining a transaction. Under the control of the transaction, it will start performing each and every operation over here. It will try to insert the records, 401 record, 402 record, 403 record, like that. It is inserting up to all the 600 records. Okay. So now here in this case, what happened? When coming to the transaction, we are having that implicit transactions are available. So each and every DML statements will use that implicit transaction by default, not only in Salesforce, in every database also. Okay, you can compare with any database also. Every DML statement will use the implicit transactions by default. Now, make a note here. Each DML statement will use the implicit transaction by default. Okay, each DML statement will use the implicit DML implicit transaction by default. Because of this implicit transaction, what is the transaction property? Transaction property is either it has to commit or roll back. Okay, it has to be either commit or roll back. Okay, so these are comes under, these are used to maintain the ACID properties. Okay, you know, as part of database you might be aware of that ACID properties. Everybody is having the DBMS concept as part of your graduation. It may be BTech, any branch also, not only computer science people. For everybody will be having the DBMS concept. It's a common subject. Database management system. There you will be having the concept of ACID properties. Okay, atomicity, consistency, isolation, durability. These are the 4 properties are available that every database has to support. Okay, now in this case here also these transactions also purely working under that ACID properties. Okay, now whenever I'm going to be performing any DML operation, it may be insert, it may be update, delete or undelete, or any DML statement whatever we can use. Okay, for each and every DML statement, first of all it is going to be, okay, preparing the transaction. Okay, it is preparing the transaction. Now, so that here each DML statement will be used that implicit transaction by default. That's what here I'm calling this DML statements are purely atomic. Okay, so that DML, hence the DML statements are atomic. Okay, hence the DML statements are atomic. DML statements are purely atomic. Atomic means what? Only one. Either it has to commit or roll back. Okay, now clear? Now let me explain here. Now I'm inserting the records right now. It is maintaining the transaction internally here. For my operation, okay, I'm inserting 200 records, 401 to 600 records I'm inserting right now. It is maintaining the transaction over here. So now this is the transaction ID, like some transaction 1. Under this transaction, it is inserting the record 401. It is inserted successfully. Okay, success. 402, success. It's inserted successfully. 403, successfully inserted. Like that is inserting the records here. 590. What about this record? Success. 591. What happened? Failed. If it is failed, then what we can do? Can I go ahead? No, cancel. So that all the operations will be getting cancelled automatically by default over here. Okay, this is the internal concept here. Okay, so that here when coming to the DML statement, why it is going to be cancelling all the operations is because every DML statement is internally using implicit transactions by default. Because of this implicit transaction internally, by default it is maintaining a transaction. Under the control of transaction only the operations will be getting executed. So now the transaction will take care of that. If all the operations are success or not, if all the operations are successfully completed, then only it will be committing the transaction. So all the records will be coming into your object here. If any of the operation has been failed, the whole transaction will be getting rolled back. Okay, clear? Now, so in this case, here is that implicit transaction. Explicit transaction, how can we maintain over here? Sometimes I don't want to use that implicit transaction. I would like to go with that explicit transactions. How can we maintain the explicit transactions? Anybody from database? Anybody is aware of database? Now, explicit transactions can be done with the help of transaction control language statements. You will be having TCL statements, like as DDL statements, data definition language statements, DML statements, data manipulation. We are having the TCL statements are available, transaction control language statements over here. Okay, now, so we are having the transaction control language statements. As part of database, we are having that transaction control language statements. Like we are having begin transaction. end transaction, save point, commit, rollback. These are the various transaction control language statements are available, which we can able to use explicitly in order to maintain your own explicit transactions. No, no checkpoints. Save point is available here. When you go to the database class, you will be having this, the transaction control language statements will be available. When you go to the database class, database dot, you will be having that. So in the database is somewhere we are having that the transaction related statements are available. The rollback statement, rollback methods are available to you. Okay, rollback, save point. Okay, set save point. Save point we can specify and we can able to use that save points also. And along with that, you will be having that rollback methods are also available to you ready-madely. And then we are having that you will be able to specify that save point starting, that is called as the begin transaction. Okay, from there we can able to perform all the operations. Okay, so that here when you go to that normal databases, you will be having that the transaction control language statements are available to you. Okay, and then we are having that begin transaction, save point, commit, rollback, end the transactions. Okay, these other things are available now. Okay, now, so in this case, when coming to the transaction, transaction contains a collection of operations. If all the operations are successfully completed, then only your operation will be getting completed, your transaction will be over. If any of the operation has been failed, transactions will be getting rolled back, so that your all the previous operation whatever you have performed, all the operations will be getting cancelled. Okay, now, so that here whenever I'm going to be utilizing this DML statements, each DML statement will use that implicit transaction by default. Because of that, if any of the record has been failed, then it is going to be cancelling all the previous operations also by default. Okay, clear? Now, in this case, whenever I'm using that normal DML statements, the first drawback is DML statements are purely atomic statements, where if any of the operation has been getting failed, because of that single record, it is cancelling all the previous operations also. Okay, this is the first major drawback when coming to that DML statements. Next, second drawback. Now, for example, here when coming to my DML statements, I want a mechanism like this, like whenever I'm trying to be inserting the records 401 to 600. Now 401 record has been inserted successfully, 402 is also success, 3 also success, 4 also success, like that up to 590 records are also success. 591 the record has been failed. If it is failed, don't cancel my transaction, just ignore that record here. Okay, just eliminate that record, continue with the rest of the records as it is, like as 592, 593, 594 up to 600, process that remaining records also. I want this kind of partial processing mechanism. Okay, I want this kind of partial processing mechanism. Now tell me, do we have that kind of partial processing mechanism in the normal DML statements by default? No, it is simply cancelling the whole transaction. It is not allowing any partial processing mechanism. This is the second major drawback. Next, the third one. The third drawback is when coming to that operation here. Whenever I'm going to be performing the DML operations, if any of the record has been getting failed, why the record has been failed, I want the tracking mechanism here. Okay, I want the tracking mechanism. Whatever the record has been getting failed, I want the tracking mechanism. With the tracking mechanism, I will identify why the record has been failed, what is the reason over here. I would like to track everything. Based on that, I can able to correct those records, I can able to reprocess that record. But this kind of tracking mechanism is not available when coming to that normal DML statement. DML statement is purely using that atomic here. These are internally using implicit transaction. Simply it is having a blind thumb rule, either complete or cancel. That's it. Okay, it should be either complete or cancel. If all are success, complete. If any one of that fail, cancel. That's it. There is no other alternative options here. DML statement is not offering any partial processing mechanism. It is not offering any tracking mechanism to track which records has been failed, why the records has been failed. Now, in this case, to avoid this kind of problems, okay, to avoid these kind of problems, we are going to be using the help of a class called as database class. Okay, we are using the help of database class. When coming to the database class, whatever the DML operations I'm performing by using this DML statements, the same operations we can do with the help of database class methods also. But here, database class is giving the ability to you that we can able to avoid all the three drawbacks of your DML statements. What are the three drawbacks are available as part of your DML statements? Those three drawbacks you can overcome with the help of this insert statements or update statement, delete statement. All these methods we can able to use to overcome those drawbacks available in the DML statements. Don't use that normal DML statement, use database class methods. Now, in this database class method, how can we do that one? Okay, how can we do that one? Now, let's see. Let me show you practically. Instead of using this insert statement, I would like to use database.insert method. Okay, database.insert method. I'm passing the collection name here. Okay, I'm passing the collection name. Here I'm passing that second parameter value false. Okay, I'm passing that second parameter value false. Let me save this one. Now let's execute this code. Let's see what will happen. Operation is failed, success. Success. How many records are success now? There is a record is failed, right? One record definitely will fail. Then what it is doing now? 199 records will be getting processed successfully, and then the record which has been failed, simply it will be ignoring that. Okay, just ignore that record here, continue with the rest of the records as it is. That means what? When coming to the database class methods, these are allowing the partial processing mechanism to you. So that let's verify those records. Previously we have 242. If I'm inserting 200 more, it will be having 642. But one record is a failed record. That record has been eliminated. So you should be having that the 441 records over here. Okay, 441 records are available to you. Okay, so that's what here. What are the drawbacks are available inside that normal DML statement? We can avoid those drawbacks with the help of the database class methods. That's what here. It's a common question in every interview. What exactly the difference between data insert statement and the database.insert method? Now, the first difference is DML statements are purely atomic statements. Okay, DML statements are purely atomic statements which are using the implicit transaction by default. Okay, which won't allow any partial processing mechanism. Okay, which won't allow any partial processing mechanism. So now, because of that not having the partial processing mechanism, okay, if any of the record has been getting failed, it will be cancelling all the operations from the transaction, so that we need to reprocess those things over here. Okay, we need to reprocess those things again. And that too, we don't have any tracking mechanism in order to identify what records has been processed successfully, what records has been failed. If the record is failed, then why the record has been failed? What is the reason behind that? I want to track, but that kind of mechanism is not available as part of DML statements. But database class method is providing all these facilities to you. Database class methods are providing the facility that we can able to use it as, okay, that we can able to use it as the normal DML statements also. That means we can allow the partial processing, we can able to avoid the partial processing also. Okay, the possibility is available to you. Okay, now here in this case, whenever I'm using this database class methods, we can specify you want me to allow the partial processing or not, you want me to maintain the transactions or not. If you're maintaining the transactions over here, for example, I'm indicating this value true. Here I'm giving the value some 601 to 800. Here I'm indicating that value 1. Here I'm changing this value. Now, Let's see. Here I'm changing, removing this value. I'm indicating the value true. Let's see what will happen. Counter value. Okay. 791. Now, so let me execute this piece of code. Now, in this case, it is working like as a normal DML statement over here. So, database class methods are having both the capabilities. We can use as a DML statement, or you can use it as a partial processing also. Now, simply here and now, I am going to be allowing that partial processing. Make it as false. Just we can specify the second parameter false. I will show you that. I will give you that examples also here. I will go with that in detail information of each and every method. What are the parameters involved? Why we need to supply false? If I'm passing true, if I'm passing false, what will happen? We'll see everything. Now, once you click on this execute, it will allow the partial processing mechanism in this case. It will perform those operations to you. So in this case, we can maintain the transaction, we can eliminate the transactions also, where we can able to apply the partial processing mechanism. That possibility is available to you. Okay. So in this case, by using the database class methods, we can able to perform the DML operations on more number of records also, along with by applying the partial processing mechanism, where whenever upon performing the operation, if any of the record has been getting failed, don't cancel the transaction, just ignore that simply that record, continue with the remaining records as it is. Okay, then by end of the completion of that operation, I want a tracking mechanism from these 200 records, which records has been processed successfully, which records has been failed. If the record is failed, why the record has been failed? I want to track that. Here I want the tracking mechanism, so that just I will rectify that particular failed records. I will reprocess only the failed records again. Instead of reprocessing all the records again and again and again, just I will reprocess only the failed records over there. So at that time, I want those kind of tracking mechanism. If I know the reason, then only I can able to rectify that code. If I don't know the reason why the record has been failed, then I can't rectify that. Here, what is the reason? What is the mistake that I did? We can't recollect that information. For that reason, I want the tracking mechanism. For that one, Salesforce is providing so many ready-made classes also as part of database class again. We are using that database start save result class. By using that save result class, we can track the results of those operations. If the record has been failed, why the record has been failed? What is the error messages we can track by using database dot error class. We are having the database that error class is available. Through that, we can able to track that information over here. And then as part of this error information, we can able to specify why the error has been getting occurred over here. Okay. In that one, we are having so many methods are available. ERR dot get message, get fields, get a status code. All the ready-made methods are available. We'll see what are the various internal classes are available as part of database, and then what are the methods are available. We'll see practically in tomorrow's session. Okay. In tomorrow's session, we are going to be discussing about that database class methods, which is a very, very common requirement, which is the most useful feature as part of the development. Okay. Clear? No. Right. Data loader is internally using the same concept here. That's what you will be able to get success file, error file both. Okay. Data loader internal implementation is purely database class methods, nothing else.